Hello everyone, my name is Helga and you're on my anime channel. Today I've decided to make a list out of the most underrated anime series in my opinion. I've looked through the whole list of the anime titles that I have seen in my life and picked the ones that I think don't get enough attention in the community and on anitube. I've put them in the order from the oldest one to the newest one, and the last title on my list is actually still airing. So you should stay tuned till the end of the video to find out about this season's hidden gem. So without further ado, let's go! The first show on my list came out back in 1999 and it's called Petshop of Horrors. It's an OVA that consists only of 3 episodes but is still worth your attention. It talks about a mysterious man who owns a magical shop and helps people overcome their emotional trauma by selling them unusual pets. This show has a very dark tone to it and an eerie feeling. So if you enjoy series with such an atmosphere, I definitely recommend you check it out. The next on my list is Mushambro, also known as Shinzo. It's a shonen series that was airing on TV when I was in my early teenage years. I don't remember much about its plot, but I looked it up on my anime list, and according to their description, in the world of this series, a deadly virus threatened the extinction of mankind. So people created a new race of robots. However, the relationships between them didn't remain peaceful. So one of the remaining scientists put his daughter into a sleep chamber for her to awaken one day and restore the peace between the humans and their creations. And also she was supposed to find a human sanctuary called Shinzo. I remember myself coming home from school and anticipating each new episode, and I never was a shonen fan. Yes, I watched Pokemon and I still like it, but I think Pokemon has created its own separate genre. But if you are a shonen fan and you're tired of famous shows and want to watch something more peculiar, I recommend you to choose Shinzo. Next I have Hataraki Man, which is an adult slice-of-life anime about a young woman working for a magazine company. She's very diligent and often works overtime, so she doesn't have enough time and energy to develop a proper romantic relationship. She does have a boyfriend, but they are both too concentrated on their work life. As I've mentioned, it's a slice of life, so not much happens regarding the plot, but if you are a fan of this genre, don't miss out on it. I have one more romance slice of life recommendation for you, which is called Whispered Words. It's about a group of teenage girls trying to navigate high school life. The main character is a tall, sporty girl who does karate and doesn't feel feminine enough. She's also in love with her best friend who doesn't seem to feel the same way. This show also has some funny moments, which I personally found hilarious. And in general, I really enjoyed my experience watching this series, and I'm surprised that nobody else really talks about it. We'll continue with romance because I have one more underrated title to recommend to you in this genre. It's called A Summer Snow Rendezvous, and I've already talked about it on my channel. I put it in my romance tier list video, so if you haven't seen it yet, please watch it after finishing watching this video, following the link in the description. But I'll also tell you what it's about a little bit here too. It's a heartfelt story about a guy who falls in love with a widowed owner of a flower store. It also has a supernatural element because the guy starts being followed by the ghost of the woman's husband. I found this show to be very atmospheric and also not very cliched, which is good. Now we're moving to some newer shows that have come out in the last 5 years, the first of which is 18 If. It's about a boy who travels into some troubled girl's dreams and helps them overcome their demons. I'm really surprised that nobody talks about this show because it has a thrilling plot and it's also very creative visually because different episodes were actually directed by different people. So the art style changes a lot, but it still has one subsequential idea. Some of its episodes also were very deep and even made me cry. So, needless to say, I'm surprised that nobody really talks about it. It's definitely underrated and it's worth a watch. The next show is Copcraft. It's about a universe in which our world is connected to the fantasy one. So people have to coexist with magical creatures. The main characters are two police officers, one from the human world and one from the fantasy one, who have to work together. This show touches upon the topics of discrimination and friendship of people with different backgrounds. And I also like the main character of the series. He looks like a cynical detective at first glance, but he has a really kind heart. Number 8 is Plunderer, which was for some reason overlooked by almost everyone when it was airing. And I don't think that I should tell you a lot about its plot because it has a lot of twists and turns right from the beginning, and I think it's better to go into this show blind. But I also liked the lore that the creators developed. I found it interesting and surprising at parts, and the genres of this series are fantasy and action with some edgy elements. If you have already seen it, please write about it in the comments, write your non-spoiler opinion because it will be really interesting for me to read it. Next we have Ramune, a mysterious disease specialist. I have already talked about this anime in some of my previous videos, but I have to mention it here because it's definitely underrated. It tells several stories from the life of a guy who treats mysterious illnesses and his young assistant. The episodes of the show have some really crazy premises, like a woman having dumplings growing her ears, but don't be deceived into thinking that the anime itself is lame. It actually covers a lot of serious topics and it has a very good portrayal of the friendship between the main characters. And the last one, as I promised, is a newer anime which is finishing airing right now in the 2022 spring season. It's called Tokyo 24th Ward. It's about a group of guys trying to prevent tragic events from happening. They got this ability after a call from their friend who had died a couple of years ago. So it has a very solid sci-fi setting. I also like the character dynamics of this show and their development. All three main characters are very different in terms of their morals and their understanding of justice and doing the right thing. So it's always very thought-provoking to follow them. Maybe it's just my personal taste being a fan of sci-fi, time travel kind of stories, changing the past or the future, but I think that a lot of people might actually enjoy it. Unfortunately, the animation deteriorated in the latest episodes that I have seen, but the plot is still going strong. So if it sounds like something you might actually enjoy, give it a try. That was it with my top 10 most underrated anime series of all time. Share the titles that you think have been overlooked by the community in the comments below. Also, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and click the little bell icon to get all the notifications about when I post my new anime related videos. I hope to see you all soon. Bye!